Mellow greetings, everybody. My name is James. I'm from the internet, and we are just a few days away from the 2020 election. However, all I have been talking about for the last month is the 2020 election. So I thought we would deviate just a little bit from our usual fare to report on something else ancillary. Now, a lot of the discussion around the 2020 election is really going towards what's going to happen after the election and how many different lawsuits there are going to be. There will be voter advocacy groups who will be suing the FEC and suing states to have, results and tabulations made public. There will be numerous suits that will eventually go through the voting district and county level up to the state, up to the federal level, perhaps even the Supreme Court, regarding which ballots received, during or after the election are or are not valid based on what envelope they were mailed in, if boxes are fully checked, if, people don't include their middle initial, but they have it on their driver's license, whatever it is. It's going to be a lot of legal maneuvering. And this comes on the heels of 4 years of Donald Trump, the king of literally suing everybody. So with all the lawsuits going around, the old browser kind of got filled with stuff today, and I noticed that the election and all the FEC stuff and the state lawsuits about votes counting and not counting are not the only thing making their way through the courts, and I thought I would show you a couple things that are going on. Normally, I give you the candy at the end. Today, I'm going to give you the candy at the beginning because I feel bad and I make you listen to like 10 minutes of thoroughly depressing shit before I, bust out the snappy tangent to it. So let's start with the candy first, and then we'll move on, okay? Here we go. Here's your candy, kids. Don't say I never gave you nothing. Former Liberty University President Jerry Falwell Jr., who resigned amid a sex scandal, is now suing the school for defamation. Because he resigned, and now he's going to sue them for defamation. For those who aren't aware, Liberty University, a very Christian university located in Virginia, started by Jerry Falwell Jr.'s father, Jerry Falwell, who was one of the first and most famous and wealthiest of the TV televangelists. So, apparently, after the stories of a sex scandal surfaced, Jerry Falwell Jr. first put himself on a sabbatical, then resigned, and is now going to sue because he resigned. Jerry Falwell Jr., the now former president of Liberty University, who stepped down in August after a sex scandal was made public, sued Thursday, claiming, quote, the Christian university accepted false claims about him without investigating to pressure him to resign, and that the institution damaged his reputation, according to his statement. So yeah, Falwell's main concern here is the damage to his reputation. Now, he doesn't think that him engaging in his own sexcapades for a decade and using his power and money and influence to both facilitate these relationships and then hide them from public view, somehow none of that was damaging to his reputation. The fact that he resigned and then Liberty University accepted his resignation apparently damaged his reputation. Yay, Christian values. Falwell claimed the actions of the university, accepting his resignation, which was founded by his father, Jerry Falwell Sr., defamed him and amounted to a breach of contract, according to the complaint filed in the Commonwealth of Virginia Circuit Court. Falwell claims the statements the school made after he was forced to resign from the position he held since 2007, quote, needlessly injured and damaged his reputation and were made to tarnish, minimize, and outright destroy his family's legacy and reputation. Again, he doesn't seem to think his own hypocrisy destroyed his reputation or damaged his reputation of preaching about the word of God and what it is everybody else should be doing lest they be deemed immoral and not worthy of being entered into the kingdom of God and up into heaven after they die. No. No, nothing he did destroyed his family's legacy and reputation. Just Liberty University accepting his resignation and then publishing the resignation letter because it's public. Yeah, apparently that is what you get sued for nowadays. Falwell alleges the university's statement signaled the allegations against him were true, although he says the school did not launch an independent investigation. That's right, accepting somebody's resignation signals that you agree that he should resign, and somehow that makes somebody liable. This is very interesting. Fallwell resigned in August after Reuters published an interview with Giancarlo Granda, who claimed he had a sexual relationship with both Fallwell and Fallwell's wife, Becky Fallwell. Granda told Reuters the relationship started when he met the Fallwells in March 2012 when he was a 20-year-old pool attendant at a hotel in Miami. That's right. They were cruising for pool boys. Very Christian. He alleged that from then to 2018, 6 years, he would have sex with Becky multiple times per year while Fallwell watched. In the complaint, Fallwell does not name Granda, but claims the allegations were made by somebody who tried to extort him and his wife for years. Fallwell alleges the individual received money from Fallwell's political opponents, which he said likely included the Political Action Committee, the Lincoln Project, which is run by former Republicans who are against Donald Trump. Fallwell endorsed Trump in 2016. Yep. Why accept responsibility for your own actions? No. Blame the deep state. Yeah, the deep state made me put my dick in the pool boy. Yes, that seems highly logical. As Reuters noted, Liberty University has a strict honor code and stipulates that sexual relationships outside of marriage between a natural-born man and a natural-born woman are not permitted. Listen, I didn't write the Liberty University rules. Honestly, I have a funny feeling that Jerry Falwell Sr. wrote the Liberty University rules. So, looks like that one kind of came back to bite him in the ass. Now, you want some specifics? Of course you do. Because I'm not going to just give you a taste of the candy. I'm going to give you the whole piece of candy. Here you go. Business partner of Fallwell's says affair with the evangelical power couple spanned 7 years. Notice how now he's a business partner, but before he was the pool boy. I wonder what changed in a period of 7 years while having sex with Jerry Falwell Jr. and Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife. In a claim likely to intensify the controversy surrounding one of the most influential figures in the American Christian conservative movement, a business partner of Jerry Falwell Jr. has come forward to say he had a years-long sexual relationship involving Falwell's wife and the evangelical leader. Giancarlo Granda says he was 20 when he met Jerry and Becky Fallwell while working as a pool attendant at the Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel in March 2012. For those who don't know, the Fontainebleau is extremely bougie. I went there for the Winter Music Conference a couple times, and even decades ago, it was $400 or $500 a night to stay there. It is extremely bougie and elitist. You have to have a lot of money to go stay at the Fontainebleau, hang out at the pool all day, and pick out which pool boy you want your wife to bang. Starting that month and continuing to 2018, Granda told Reuters that the relationship involved him having sex with Becky Fallwell while Jerry Falwell looked on. Granda showed Reuters emails, text messages, and other evidence that he says demonstrates the sexual nature of his relationship with the couple who have been married since 1987. Quote, Becky and I developed an intimate relationship, and Jerry enjoyed watching from the corner of the room, Granda said in an interview. Now 29, he described the liaisons as frequent, multiple times per year, and said the encounters took place at hotels in Miami and New York, as well as the Fallwells' home in Virginia. His friendship with the Fallwells eventually soured. Granda told Reuters, in part because he wanted to dissolve his ties with the couple and fell into a business dispute with them. See, the plot thickens. Granda emerged as a figure in the Fallwell circle 2 years ago when BuzzFeed reported the couple had befriended Granda and gone into business with him, buying a Miami Beach youth hostel in 2013. A youth hostel. Gee, I wonder where a youth hostel would come in handy inside the orbit of the right-wing conservative Christian movement. Go ahead, I'll let you just figure that one out for yourself. At the time of the article, a representative of the Fallwell family said Granda was, quote, offered a share in Alton Hostel LLC because Granda lived in Miami and would act as a manager of the youth hostel. Corporate records show that Granda currently has a stake in that venture. Eventually, Jerry Falwell issued a statement to the Washington Examiner in which he said that his wife had an affair with Granda and that Granda had been trying to extort money from the couple over the matter. Granda denies any such intent, saying he was seeking to negotiate a buyout from a business arrangement he says he had with the couple. That's right. when push came to shove, once again, Jerry Falwell Jr. had the option to not be a hypocrite, had the option to be honest, had the option to show his Christ-like nature and that he's been listening to the teachings of Christ for the last 6 years. Instead, he decided to take his wife and chuck her under the bus. Because, of course, that's what a real man of God does. Falwell's statement said nothing about Granda's account, alleging the evangelical leader had his own role in the affair, and Falwell didn't address questions about it. In the statement, Fallwell said, quote, Becky had an inappropriate personal relationship with this person, something in which I was not involved. Because of course not. I wouldn't be somebody who would, talk about the teachings of God and how we all need to be moral creatures, and then pimped his wife out to pool boys so he could sit in the corner and watch while yanking it. No, of course not. Why bother taking responsibility, right, Jerry? Nah. Becky Fallwell, a political figure in her own right, served on the advisory board of the group Women for Trump, which advocates for the president's re-election campaign. She also spoke as part of a panel with her husband and Donald Trump Jr. at last year's Conservative Political Action Committee, the signature annual gathering of conservatives. Jerry Falwell and others refer to her as, quote, the First Lady of Liberty University, and by that he means the First Lady of Liberty University to bang the pool boy while he was watching before he chucked her under a fast-moving bus. Now, if you think suing Liberty University over accepting your resignation when you do shit like this is somehow kind of kooky and off-brand, wait till I show you the coup de grace, okay? This is the second lawsuit we're going to talk about today. Louisville police officer sues Kenneth Walker, boyfriend of Breonna Taylor, for emotional distress, assault, and battery. If you remember a few months ago, when all those cops knocked down the front door of Breonna Taylor's apartment and fired 22 rounds in, killing her in her bed, in the midst of all that, she was there with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, who is a licensed gun owner. And after the police broke down the door and nobody heard them say that they were the police, the door blew open, he saw people and fired. One of the people he shot was this cop. The cop who, after executing Breonna Taylor and then filing a whole bunch of fudged reports, which the FBI has been blowing holes in for months, has now decided to sue Kenneth Walker for emotional distress. Apparently, he wants you to believe that cops have emotions and feelings. The same people who shoot and kill more than 1,000 unarmed American citizens every year, never mind all the dogs they shoot. Oh, now they're suffering from emotional distress because they caught a bullet while they were busy executing somebody who was asleep in their bed that had committed no crime. Officer involved in the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor filed a civil suit against the 26-year-old's boyfriend for emotional distress, assault, and battery on the night she was killed. The lawsuit claims Louisville Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly experienced severe trauma, mental anguish, and emotional distress because Kenneth Walker fired at people who blew down the front door of the apartment without announcing themselves. Mattingly and 2 other officers entered Taylor's apartment early in the morning that day with a warrant and attempt to carry out a drug investigation. Do you see this sentence? Mattingly and 2 other officers entered Taylor's apartment to carry out a drug investigation. And by entered Taylor's apartment, they mean 4 cops with an 80-pound battering ram slammed it into the front door, turning it into splinters before hauling ass into the apartment, guns blazing. But sure, they entered the apartment. Walker, a licensed gun owner who said he thought the officers were intruders, allegedly fired a shot that hit Mattingly in the leg. Police opened fire, killing Taylor. Taylor had no criminal record. No drugs were found. Quote, Walker's conduct in shooting Mattingly is outrageous, intolerable, and offends all accepted standards of decency and morality, the lawsuit said. Really? What happened to stand your ground? What happened to the castle doctrine? What happened to, you're going to take the guns out of my cold, dead hands? What happened to, I'm going to protect my family? Where's the NRA? Where's the outrage from the right wing? I don't see any. You know why? Because they're black. That's it. Period. End of message. Walker was initially arrested and charged with attempted murder over the shooting, but those charges were dropped. You know why? because they couldn't prove that the police actually identified themselves as police before breaking down the front door and firing more than 20 rounds into Breonna Taylor and her apartment. That's why they dropped the charges, because there wasn't enough evidence. Meanwhile, Mattingly, who's been pulling a check since Breonna Taylor got executed, now, faced with the prospect of having to go back to work after rehabbing from catching a bullet, has decided it would just be easier to sue the person who shot him. You know, because police are so awesome and they're just here to serve the public, and they're totally not self-serving. Not at all. No, that's right. They're going to sue him. Well played, cop. Well played. Walker's attorney called Mattingly's lawsuit a baseless attempt to further victimize and harass Kenny, because of course they did. Kenny Walker's protected by law and is immune from both criminal prosecution and civil liability, as he was acting in self-defense in his own home, said his attorney. Even the most basic understanding of Kentucky's stand your ground law and the Castle Doctrine evidences this fact. One would think that breaking into the apartment, executing his girlfriend, and framing him for a crime in an effort to cover up her murder would be enough for them. But no! This baseless attempt to further victimize and harass Kenny indicates otherwise. Because the police can't actually get a judge to throw you in jail just so they can flex on you and show you how strong they are, then they're going to go out and sue you and try to take your money. Why? Because this is what the police state does. It exists to enact violence and extract wealth. That's all. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, on the cusp of all these amazing legal lawsuits that you're going to be dealing with for the next 2 months that are ultimately going to determine who the next president of the United States is, I thought I would remind you that outside of those legal proceedings, the rest of the world is still marching on without a concern. And unfortunately, that includes baselessly suing people because you fucked the pool boy or executed somebody while they were sleeping. 4 days left till the election. Keep your eye on the prize, people. I am out. Peace.